Going on, gang? This is Jay Sampson here out of Glass House Realty and the Endres Group. Today, you guys are in for a really dope treat. I got my guy Chris here. We'll be covering all topics real estate, hopefully to set you up for success if you're buying or selling in the Dayton area. Again, very happy to introduce you guys again to my guy Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Bubba. Yeah, so just real quick introduction of ourselves. Like Jay said, I'm Chris. I'm the owner of the Endres Group with Glass House Realty Group. Jay Sam's my right hand man. So just so you guys know, we're both prior military, so we've been in your shoes. We've done what you've done.
Yeah.
I was retired Air Force. I was an airborne independent medic. I served 17 years, and then as soon as they offered that Emperor early retirement, I snatched that up and ran for my life.
Got out of Dodge.
Spent a couple years overseas after that, and then been in real estate here in the Dayton area for 10 years.
Nice.
And then Jay was a client of mine. Him and his family were PCSing in,
Absolutely.
and I linked up with him, helped them out. Jay is. I'll let you tell you your story about what your
prior
past.
Army.
So,
Yeah, I did 5 years in the Army, 08 to 2013, all of which was spent at Fort Bragg. Was a cool airborne paratrooper. Absolutely.
it's one thing we had in common. Both of us are airborne. So
Crazy guys jumping out of planes. Who would have thought? But yeah, man, I got with the wife who was serving in the Air Force. So, showing some love to the chair force, not including my guy here. You know what I mean? Had a couple of PCSs, Boston, back to the DC area, and then got into the orders for Ohio, for Dayton. Was thankful and fortunate enough to run into you, right, to help us find a location, help us buy from being way over there in the DMV, which is difficult. But yeah, a big family, PCS moves, military life, know all about that. Absolutely.
yeah, and then Jay hit me up. He wanted to start dabbling in real estate, get into it, and I've always loved him from the minute I met this dude. I could tell he's just a good, honest person and hardworking. Father of 7 beautiful girls,
Yeah, buddy.
and just a good dude. So he has, I mean, you've not let me down. What you bring to the team, man, is unparalleled. So I appreciate you. But let's talk a little bit today about the process for everyone, basically, who's going to be PCSing into Wright-Pat. We always see this question, pop up on the spouse's page or wherever it says, where do I look at? What do I do? Where do I go? Where do I not go? So let's just kind of break that down a little bit and kind of give you guys some answers to some of those questions. I think just so you guys know, Jay and I, our number one priority when people are coming to the Wright-Pat area is above all else, making sure that you are making a smart investment.
Decision. Yeah.
Because we all know how that is, whether it's Air Force, Army. You think you're going to go somewhere 4 or 6 years or indefinitely, and then you're here for a year. Next thing you know, you're non-volled to recruiting or to Korea. So first off, making sure that you're buying a house that is obviously structurally sound, but making sure that it's something that's going to at least hold its value, but preferably appreciate. And I guess at least be able to rent something that's going to be rentable. If God forbid you come here and something happened and right away you guys are heading right back out. So that's our number one priority. I mean, and obviously sometimes that's not always the scenario. We do get quite a few people because there's tons of civilian work here for contractors. So we get a lot of people that are getting out of the military or retiring, coming to the Wright-Pat area. So that gives us a little more leeway on these conversations. Absolutely. But obviously we still want to make sure you guys are making a good investment. So that's our number one. Good.
For sure. I know a lot of folks, when they're making that PCS over here and they're having that conversation with us, especially that initial consultation, if not just in passing on phone or on Facebook, is location, right? Like, where should we be looking at first and foremost? What are the areas? I know a lot of people think, like, what's a good area in Dayton, right?
Yeah.
For you, when you're having that conversation, when people are asking, like, what's a good location, what are some of the things that stick out to you for a location to have you kind of, one, say, this is a good area, and here's some reasons why?
Yeah, I want to caveat this up front because, as realtors, we have to be careful. We don't want to be steering people in any
sure.
certain direction. So when we have this conversation, I think it's really important to say why we say these areas are good.
Absolutely.
Jay and I, like 98% of our clientele are military. And this is a lot of this is my personal opinion too. I think Wright-Pat is probably the number one thing that keeps this market moving. And so I've been in this business for 10 years. Jay's going on 2 years. Yeah, going on your second year. And so we kind of base this off of where the majority of people that we see want to live when they come to Wright-Pat. Because if you're already focusing your search on the area where the majority of people who keep the market moving where they want to be at, then you're already starting yourself off for a good investment. So we're not recommending these areas because there's things legally as realtors that we're not allowed to say. We're not allowed to say this area is safe, this area is unsafe, this is a good school district, this is a bad school district. We can't say those kind of things. So we base this completely off of where the majority of our clientele like to be. And I think if you buy in those areas, you're setting yourself up for success because
in the long haul,
the base keeps the market moving. In my
agree.
opinion, it's not the only thing, but I just think it's a big part of it.
It's a huge piece of that, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, folks who are in the military, we jump into the real estate cycle way more often than somebody who's from the area, right? Like I think the average is somewhere between 7 to 10 years for the normal American who buys a home, right? And for us, we PCS, that gets shortened. It could be anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 years, right? Like we're right back in the market. So being somewhere where there's high traffic, where people are more accustomed to go traditionally over time, I think that's just the smartest play that you can make there. Agree. For sure.
Yeah, and so with that said, we have what we call like our primary market and our secondary market. And these are not necessarily all inclusive, but it's, just a good place for you to start your search at. So my primary market that I like to consider is, and this is just because, again, this is where the majority of people, kind of like the top 6 cities, where the majority of people when they come here, based off of their own research or what have you, where they typically like to be at. And so those top 6 areas are Beaver Creek, Bellbrook, Centerville, Kettering, Oakwood, and Springboro.
Absolutely.
And just like we said earlier, we can't get into schools and all that stuff. That's kind of, we're not legally allowed to do that.
Oh, but if you do, go to niche.com. We highly recommend researching that on your own.
Or schooldigger.com. Those are both of them are really good websites to go research schools.
I haven't tapped into School Digger. I got to check that one out more.
Yeah. So from what I've heard, I guess School Digger goes way more into the academics of it, testing and everything. And then Niche, I believe, they encompass a whole lot of things like diversity and all kinds of stuff that School Digger, I think, focuses more just on the academic side of it.
It delves in.
They're both good. But the majority of our families that are coming here, specifically people with kids, one of their primary focuses is schools. So with that said, the majority of people that are coming in, they have families. And the majority of them, their number one priority is schools.
Absolutely.
And if you get on either one of those websites and you type in best schools in the Dayton area, you'll see why the majority of people, again, without us going and giving our own personal opinions.
Yeah, it kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. Go into those websites and you'll see that's one of the main reasons people like. And it's, I guess, overall, both the primary market and the secondary market, one of our top priorities too is proximity to the base.
For sure.
Most people don't want to be more than 30 minutes away from the base.
Very much so.
Yeah. So except for myself, I want to be as far away as possible.
I love it.
But where was I going with that? But yeah, so all these areas, the primary market and the secondary market, they are within 30 minutes of the base. So that's proximity is a big part of that. So and then I always
can I touch on that
real
quick? So one of the things and people see or hear when they hear that, right? Proximity to base, its closeness and what have you. For me, it's a different relationship when I was in Boston at Hanscom Air Force Base, right? Like being close to base also meant a massive amount of traffic, right? And so there's a lot to consider there. It also meant that if I'm getting off-post daycare, they're not directly in direct proximity. So there's also like routing that traffic, right? Which also adds to time. So for Wright-Patterson, I know some of the things that you highlight on is every neighborhood, although it could be geographically close to Wright-Patterson, there's some things to consider as far as how long it actually takes to get there.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that a little bit?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because I get people who are like, oh, we want to be in Beaver Creek because it's right by the base. And it is,
Nice.
like Jay said, geographically, you look
Yeah.
on the map, it's like, boom, yeah, that's right by the base. So two things to really touch on there. I'd say the Dayton area as a whole has a really good highway system.
Absolutely.
I mean, it has its high peaks
Absolutely.
like of the day, but the majority of the time, traffic moves
It's
pretty
breezy.
freely. And
It's
you can
breezy.
get pretty much anywhere around the greater Dayton area in 15, 20 minutes. So, like Jay was saying, with the geographically located part, though, there's some areas in Beaver Creek, you could be deep in a neighborhood and you think that looks close to the base, but you could, just because there's so much traffic or so many traffic lights or whatever, there's no direct route straight to the base. So you could still be 20 minutes away from the base, especially depending on if you're area A or area B as well. Where it could still take you 15, 20 minutes to get to the base, or you could be all the way in Centerville, which geographically looks much further away from the base. But because of I guess it's more about the commute to the highway. So if you can get to the highway in 5 minutes, you can still be at the base in 20 minutes from Centerville. So it just really depends exactly where you're at. So that's a really good point. Glad you brought that up.
No, absolutely. Appreciate it.
But so those are the top 6 areas. I'd say that's why we call it our primary investment area.
Sure.
It appreciates the most. All of my clients who've made the most amount of money on their resale has been in those primary markets.
Nice.
So those houses just have a tendency to appreciate more just because they're more sought after. The downside of that, though, is they're more competitive. Yeah. Prices are higher. You don't get as much bang for your buck as you would in the secondary market. Yeah. There's usually a lot more competition for them. Taxes are usually a little bit higher because the prices are higher. So there's pros and cons to all of those areas. Secondary market, again, and it's when I say secondary market, that's not like it's not like a discrepancy. I get it. They're not
putting
they're
it down
not
in any way,
bad.
shape, or
Yeah,
form
and they're
at
not.
all. Great. I live in a secondary market. I live in Huber Heights.
And I
great
probably
area.
live in a secondary market too,
Absolutely.
just because of the proximity. I mean, I live down in Wilmington, and that's takes me every bit of 35, 40 minutes to get to town.
Absolutely.
But I love being out in the boonies, so I'm good with it. But yeah, secondary market, like Fairborn, Huber Heights, Mad River School District area. What am I missing? Like your areas, I guess technically Tip City, Jay's up in Carriage Trails,
Gets in the Troy, Vandalia area.
some areas of Enon.
That one gets you're rubbing up against like agricultural areas where it's just a lot of cornfields.
But small little community, cheap taxes,
Absolutely.
less competition, and that's pretty safe to say across the board. Secondary market, more bang for your buck, lower taxes. Well, when I say more bang for your buck, more house for your money. Less competition.
Less competition.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's not necessarily that those areas aren't bad. It's just there's still it's more budget friendly. So we still get a ton of military people who buy in those neighborhoods in those areas just because they're more affordable.
Absolutely.
So for that reason, maybe not as much appreciation or as great on resale as the primary markets, but they still do really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some other stuff we got to talk about? I think that pretty much covers. Do you have anything else on the areas that you think we should chat about? Or
no, I think that kind of covers where I'm at on that one, bro.
Okay.
I think it covers it for the most part. Again, if I'm coming into an area, if I'm PCSing in, the location is always the first thing that comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
Like, where should I even be looking?
Yeah.
In that conversation, you can get into what makes a certain area different from others. And a lot of times it just depends on how much money you're trying to spend, how much time do you think you'll be in the area. Like, we were fortunate to have a control tour of 4 years, so we knew exactly how long we would be here, which makes it a little bit easier to plan out our purchase.
Yeah.
If we're coming in not knowing, right, like those variables, those factors, they mean a whole lot more, right?
Yeah.
Help me make the most sound decision. And you touched on it, right? I think the exit strategy, whether it's primary or secondary, the exit strategy is real. If I'm going to sell this house, what puts me in the best position to do so? I can see a home that makes sense and want to move here, but I've got to sell it, right?
Yeah.
So where should I buy to make sure that I'm buying something that the market will respond to?
That's a good point too. But I also think, adding on to that, if you've ever considered owning an investment property, Wright-Pat is a great place. I mean, if you think that the buying market's competitive, the rental market is super competitive.
Wow.
So, Wright-Pat's, I believe it's still, at one point I know it was, I believe it's still the second largest Air Force base personnel-wise.
Wow.
2 major commands here. So this base, the likelihood of it ever going anywhere, slim to none, man.
It'll be
And,
here for a while.
I was stationed I retired out of Moody Air Force Base, and Moody was on the BRAC all the time, the base realignment and closure list. And I had a house down there, and after I'd been in real estate like 3 or 4 years, I was like, man, if this base shuts down,
You're stuck.
I am screwed.
You are stuck.
Yeah. So I even though I'd been a realtor for many years, I went ahead and hired a realtor down there and sold that house and made decent money on it. But yeah, I mean, if you've ever considered owning an investment property, you can have a lot more peace of mind buying in this area than you could some of the other bases you've been to. So
Yeah, there's usually a steady flow of people coming in, always somebody looking to buy a home. And the rental market, as you're saying, right? Like people are always trying to look for a good rental space.
and it's super contractor heavy too. So it's not even just military personnel wise. There's a ton of civilian contractors.
Absolutely. What is it, like 30,000, I believe, is like the workforce for Wright-Patterson? I believe the
I have
number is
no
around
idea.
30,000 or something
No
like
clue.
that. Big employee kind of base. A lot of folks coming in and out of there. So yeah, and then the other piece, right? Whether it's an investment property, having that rental as well, but just having a good exit strategy, right, plays into my location. Aside from that, I think we kind of hit the points. What makes certain areas different from others? What features they have? The commute is always real. So I think that kind of covers it for me.
Yeah. I think another important thing to talk about is timing. That's another big question I get is like, we're not getting there. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'm not coming till, let's just use September as an example. It's July 1st today. So let's just use September as an example. We're not coming out there till September. Most people don't realize you're already in your buying window, maybe even a little bit behind the curve. So,
Yeah.
so just so you guys know, it's July 1st today. So if you go under contract today on a house, you close August 1st on it, your first payment is not going to be due until October 1st. Yeah. So you got plenty of leeway if you're closing in September. So I always try to line that up. So just know whenever you close, you skip a month. And so if you're worried about paying 2 mortgages or not having your BAH is going allotted elsewhere, you have a little bit of a buffer there for closing on that. So
Yeah, the timing is always real, and I've seen in the initial conversations or consultations that we've had with clients how like the realization that like they need to get like hot today is it's a little bit of a shock for them, thinking that they have a lot more leeway than they actually do.
yeah.
But that timing is key. Can you talk to us kind of why the timing is so key? Why jumping in that early is something important to do?
Yeah, I think giving yourself, I mean, because it is still a competitive market, and giving yourself as much window as possible to be able to make offers on that, because you're probably going to get beat on some houses. I mean, I have some clients right now, we've written 3 or 4 offers, and they're writing full price or even some over, and making fairly aggressive offers and still getting beat right now. Primarily shopping in Beaver Creek, which is always a competitive market. But
absolutely.
yeah, so giving yourself as big of a window to shop as possible without obviously financially overextending yourself is really important, finding that balance. So I typically tell people, let's see, let's just go for November, for example. If they're coming here November 1st, back that up. So that means they could close September before they'd actually have a payment due. So then back that up another 45 to 60 days. So that would be August, like mid-July. So I would say like first week of July or like now.
Yeah.
First week of July or mid-July, probably. I like starting at about 45 days before that at that window. 60. You can do 60-day contracts sometimes, but they're a little harder to get accepted than a 45-day contract.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah. So just to give you that examples, what is that? It's July, so that's August, September, October. So 3 months out, basically, you can start dropping offers. Is that right? Did I say November?
Yeah, you said November.
Okay, so 4 months out. 4 months out, you could really start being aggressively shopping for houses. Maybe 3.5 better, but realistically, you could start 4 months out.
So I think that's something that would love to dive into a little bit more in that lane, right? Like, so as someone who is purchasing a home, especially a military member, timelines are so important. Like, I've got to get there, especially if I'm moving in the summertime before school starts. I got to get my kids settled. I got to get my house in order. I got to figure out how to get my kids into school properly, right? The whole thing, right? But when we're looking at that type of a lead up time with the timing, I didn't fully anticipate losing an offer. Yeah. Right. And to think I would have to now reset my search if I maybe went under contract and something went awry, found something in inspection, or the seller, something went wrong there. But I think if you could talk to why having that buffer makes sense, and that shock of, hey, we may not win the first offer we put out there in a competitive market.
Well, I think the easiest way to explain it is to say you've got, you can appeal to both sets of sellers. You have sellers who maybe they're not out of the house yet, and maybe they need to rent back. That's an easy way to be competitive on your offer. Wow. To say, hey, we'll close and we'll give you 2-3 weeks of occupancy before we take the house. It doesn't cost you a dime.
True.
And sometimes being able to be flexible is more valuable to people than cash.
Absolutely.
So you're able to appeal to that seller who maybe is not leaving for 30, 60 days after they sell, because you have the flexibility in your window to do that. And you can also still ask for rent back or something too. It's not like you have to let them stay there for free. A lot of different scenarios you could play out there. And then on the flip side of that, if you're looking online and you see that the house is completely vacant, chances are they want to close that house in 30 days. They want that house out from under them. And you're still able to be competitive in that. You can still make really quick close aggressive offers, or you can be able to have some leeway. So it just gives you more tools in the toolbox to be able to make
to not be under
offers.
pressure.
Yeah, to not be under pressure, but also to appeal, in a competitive market, to make your offer more appealable to the seller, depending on their situation. You have that flexibility to do so. And then, like you said, getting beat, it happens. I mean, it happens a lot. Yeah. And sometimes, no matter how aggressive you are, somebody's going to come in with a cash offer or something to knock you out. Close in 2 weeks with a cash offer.
So a traditional real estate agent is going to position themselves to say, I'm going to win the deal. You get with me, we're going to win the deal. We're going to get the house you want, right? And sometimes, and I think a lot of times, that's leading your client astray. You're setting them up with misaligned expectations, right? And I think that's one thing that you do really well, is setting up the proper expectations, right? You're going to move aggressive. And you obviously have a track record that shows, hey, I'm going to be able to get you into the home that makes sense. But can you talk about your approach, right? Making smart decisions, because that's something you lead off on a whole lot. But also weighs into, when we're submitting that offer, what does a smart offer look like?
Yeah. What was the first part of that? So you said smart offer look like, but what was the first part you said before that?
So trying to make smart decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, we're okay with making aggressive offers. Sometimes it's a possible. I always tell my clients, make strong offers, not stupid offers. So I will never recommend waive an inspection. However, sometimes
I can see it's eating you up a little bit already.
I hate it, man. I hate waiving inspections. And I don't think, and to be fair, there's very few times throughout the year where, typically, and this spring has not been that bad, but most springs past, especially in a place like Beaver Creek or Kettering, some of those areas, man, like a house can get 10 plus offers on it. And it's like, I'm never going to recommend you do it, but also if you want the house,
there's no way we can't.
Right. And obviously, how we are. Like, we don't just recommend that to any house. There's plenty of houses we go into and like, absolutely not. Do not waive inspections on this house. Or do not waive your right for negotiations post-inspection. Maybe you're doing an inspection, but we're just doing it for our own information purposes only. So we ask our clients to trust us a lot, man, because and that doesn't always work out well. I mean, it's just buying a house. It can be risky sometimes, but
yeah, making the smart play, making choices. Sure. So an inspection, keeping that in the pocket, no matter what we offer, right, is just a smart way to approach it.
Yeah, and then generally speaking, I'd say I tell people if it's the first 72 hours on the market, like if it drops on Friday, they're definitely not going to accept an aggressive offer for like and when I say aggressive, like us asking for closing costs or something like that. That first weekend, so I tell people if it's your first 72 hours on the market, you got to make an aggressive offer to benefit the seller. You know? Like full price at a minimum, not asking for closing costs. We can talk about that in maybe another episode or get into that based off of client-specific needs. But generally speaking, first 72 hours on the market, you got to be pretty aggressive with your offer. After a week, most people, you know, that first weekend on the market and getting close to the second weekend, people might be a little bit more willing to play ball with you. So
yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
As a seller, after that first week goes by and nothing's really solid, really coming in, yeah, I'm kind of open to play ball a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But even then, I think my general rule of thumb is I tell people, I don't even know if I want to throw this out there.
Don't give away trade secrets.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a trade secrets. But like you said, it's all about setting expectations. Absolutely. And we're talking about what this local market is like. Even if a house has been on the market, let's just throw out a scenario. Even if a house has been on the market 30 days, I still tell my clients, don't ever expect to get more than $15,000 out of a seller. That's like my general kind of rule of thumb. Point. There's definitely been times where we've been able to get way more than that, and I've had plenty of circumstances where the seller doesn't budge a dime. Wow. They're not moving the price, they're not paying a dime of your closing cost. But as a general rule of thumb, don't ever expect to get more than 15 grand in this specific market out of a seller. And that's including purchase price. That's including your, if you're trying to get the seller to pay some of your closing cost. That's also including repairs. It's just setting expectations realistic. House has been on the market a while, probably not going to get more than that. And even then might be stretching it.
True.
But may get more.
And I think you bring a perspective that is important, right? Like you're a seasoned agent. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've represented sellers at a high level as well. So you've seen what it looks like to be in a selling position, right? PCSing in, you're trying to purchase your home. You may be coming from military housing, right? You may have certain expectations about kind of what you want in your home. I know a lot of times setting those expectations is real, just to make sure like, hey, you're asking someone to put money towards this sale from a seller standpoint, and things will, they will do so to a certain degree. But from a seller standpoint, I know me, right? Like there's a certain amount of money I can commit. I'm already paying 3% to my agent. I'm going to be paying 3% to your agent. If I'm paying your closing costs, that's an extra amount of money. If I'm paying for, all the other things. So I think setting the expectations for the buyer early on to say, hey, this is a realistic kind of number you can anticipate is super important.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, and especially the way the market's been over the last, I have so many people that were buying houses in, 2019, 20, and man, the market had so much appreciation between now and then. So they may have a lot more money to be able to be flexible with versus people who just bought in 2024.
Right.
Or, I mean, rates were higher, prices were higher. As people buying kind of more towards the peak of the market, their equity is going to be much lower. So you're probably not going to get hardly anything out of them. So.
True indeed. Yeah.
What else we chat about? Ooh, let's talk a little bit about money. We try to stay in our lane here at the Endres Group. So most financial questions we would defer to our favorite lenders, Sarah Nona, Ben Rife.
What's going on, gang?
Both great people. But I like to talk a little bit about what a buyer should expect their out-of-pocket expenses to be as far as what I can comfortably talk about for the financial piece. I feel like every time I try to get into the financing, lending side of it, I put my foot in my mouth. So I save that stuff for Ben and Sarah. But
well, thank God we can edit. So
yeah,
know what I mean? Speak freely, and if we need to redact, we can redact.
That's
you
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, right? I know me when I was coming over to the Dayton area. One of the main things that was on my mind is how much is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
Now I got the VA entitlement, which is great, right? So I know I don't have to put money down, which I'm very fortunate to have. It's an amazing benefit to have that, right? But I know I'm not buying a house for free. Like I'm gonna pay for something, right? So can you touch on what some of those costs may be for someone buying?
Yeah, I always tell people at a bare minimum, you're going to have to pay. I tell people to budget $3,000 for out of pocket expenses. And that's probably not, you'll find out whether I'm working with buyers or sellers. I always try to go for the worst case scenario, you know? So the big three things that a buyer has to be prepared to pay for no matter what is your inspection. Your inspection will cost you in this area anywhere from $500 to $1,000, depending on what all we're testing for. So, you know, what is a basic home inspection? Probably around $550, something like that. I'm not sure. If you need to tack on radon, it's going to cost you a little bit more. If it's an older house and it's got a big giant tree in the yard or some big mature bushes, you're going to want to spend an extra $200 to get that sewer line scoped. So realistically, probably $700-800 in inspections, but I say just budget $1,000.
Understand?
Because you may have a well inspection on top of that too. That can push you closer to that. Also, just so you guys know, VA does require you to do a termite inspection at a minimum, and if the house is on a well, they require you to do a quality and quantity test for your well if you have to do that. So those are good little things to know. The second thing is, well, and the other reason we talk about the sewer scope too, sometimes those roots can infiltrate into a sewer line.
Man.
And you're spending $200 on inspection, but if you did not test for that inspection and you have a collapsed sewer line that nobody knew about, that's
Gets pricey fast.
Anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000, $30,000, depending on how long that line is and how long they got to dig, how deep they got to dig. So
to touch on it, because
worth it.
Just we dealt with that with a couple of clients here recently, doing it in that inspection period when it's our time to kind of get all of that work done to investigate and see what's going on with the home. Another reason why you say, hey, look, we can make aggressive offers, but it has to be smart. That's a protection, right? So that's easily transferable to, hey, I'm trying to keep you from paying $30,000 potentially. If we can get that sewer scope early, find out what's going on, then we can put the ask over to the seller to say, hey, we'd like to address this and see if they can come out of pocket or if we need to negotiate a different kind of way. But I think it harkens back to that point, and that's real, right? If I'm buying my home, if I budgeted in my mind $3,000, then all of a sudden this turns into $30,000.
Yeah,
I got a problem, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it sucks if you end up having to waste money on inspection. It didn't work out the way you wanted to. But man, it's all about the due diligence, man. You gotta take those steps and not find yourself in that position afterwards. And Jay and I, we really, you know, not trying to necessarily sell ourselves during this little
please do.
podcast.
What do you mean?
Podcast.
Please.
But we try to put a lot of effort. And again, we're human beings. Inspectors are human beings. Sometimes stuff gets missed, but we try to put a lot of effort into really minding our P's and Q's going through a house and making sure you guys are making a good decision on that stuff. All right, so we talked about the inspection part of it. I guess the other thing, the next big thing that you guys will have to budget for is your appraisal. Appraisal, I believe VA appraisal right now is $750. That goes through your lender, does not go through us. But you have to pay for that. And then the last one is earnest money.
Earnest money deposit, brother?
Yeah. And typically in this market, some markets, they do like 1%. You can usually, I usually, again, depending on how long it's been on the market, try to risk as little as possible. But usually $500 to $1,000 typically in earnest money.
First time home buyer.
Yeah.
You're throwing these things at me. Cool Beans got it. What the heck is an earnest money deposit, and why am I paying it?
Good question.
Why
earnest money is like good faith money. It's just basically saying, hey, we're serious about this. If you submit an offer, it's not required by any stretch of the imagination, but it's required like if you want a seller to take you serious. If you submit an offer and you have zero earnest money, that shows you've got no skin in the game. This is another thing we talk about with our buyers. And it's, you know, I'm not like a hard line, like I won't show you any houses until you're pre-approved, but it goes back to the expectation setting, like we were just saying. You know, some people think they have a $300,000-$400,000 budget, and they're like, "Oh, I'll talk to a lender down the road," and that's fine. But what I see happen is they start looking at these $400,000 homes, and they love them, and then they find out when we get ready to write our first offer that they actually can't afford it, and now they've been looking at houses in this bracket for, you know, 2-3 weeks or whatever.
Falling in love, man.
Yeah, exactly. And then they got to adjust their whole mindset and their expectations going down to $350,000 house. So I think it's so important to have those, even before us. I think it's important to have that. Well, maybe not before us. First us, then the lender, so you know what conversation to have with your lender.
Absolutely.
But it's so important for you to know what your total out-of-pocket expenses are going to be, what your buying power is, what your realistic price range is. It's such a big part of expectation setting. So I think that's the one other thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've got your pre-approval in hand, and you kind of know exactly what your max potential is, that's the kind of like the first barrier. All right, I know I'm pre-approved for say like $400,000, right? I can get access to that cash and get loaned that money. But again, talking to you first, talking to a real estate agent first to kind of curtail that and have a deeper conversation, which is, all right, now what does $400,000 look like on a month-to-month basis? Because that's the number that's really most important. When you're in year 2, year 3 of owning your home and those bills are coming every month, you're going to look back and be like, you know, maybe we didn't need as big a house as we got.
Yeah. Yeah, and just so you guys know, again, talking expectation setting on, the lender can give you an estimate based off of what the market rate is that day that you speak to them. But if you guys have all seen with the market, the rates are just all over the place. So just know, I mean, maybe even ask them to estimate a little bit high just based off of, you know, the way the market's moving. So I think one other really important thing, again, and I don't want to do this from a place of just talking shit about other realtors or anything, but like what let's talk about some things that you think are, when people, if they decide for whatever reason that you don't want to use us,
I don't know why they would.
that would be your worst mistake.
Oh,
That wouldn't be your worst mistake. There's some good agents, really are. But what should our comrades be looking for in an agent?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at different agents and kind of sizing them up, seeing which one works for you, universally, you would want to look to someone who's got one really good communication, right? And when I say that, it's such a blanket term, more specifically, right? Like if I reach out to you, do you reach back? And then also, I appreciate an agent who informs me. If there's a bit of education that goes along with your responses, I'm with that. I'm not, for me personally, I'm not the type of client to where if I'm leaning on you as an agent, I'm just like the guy who knows it all and I'm just using you as a tool to get the job done for whatever reason, right? But if you can inform me, hey, I think this is a good decision for you and your family, and here's why, right? Or hey, this house is looking really good. Here's something to consider, and here's the backstory on that, right? If you can get me smart on the decision that I'm making, and you can communicate that to me, whether that's clearly or consistently, those are two things that would help you stand out. Because a lot of times, it's a journey when you start off with the home buying process, man. Where we start off day one versus, you know, to the day we're at the closing table, we can go through a lot of different phases and changes, right? So if I know we can constantly communicate, and I know that I'm constantly getting smarter throughout, that makes me feel better to go throughout that process for sure.
That's really true, man. Because I get so many clients that, you know, by the time we're on our third or fourth house, they're already screening them out themselves based off of the thing that I've been telling them, like, yeah, this isn't going to work because of X, Y, Z. And then by the time, oh, we like this one, but remember what you told us about house one and why we should avoid that. So not only does it make their easier on them, it makes it easier on you as an agent because you're educating your clients, and now they're kind of handling that process on their own. I think, you know, the other big things to kind of be avoidant of is just I'm sure you guys, spidey senses go off. You can pick a salesman out. I mean, we're all technically salesmen, but it's you get that extra pushy agent who's just trying to get the money. You can sense that, and if you get that, terminate, find another agent.
I think the underlying thing for that is like the salesman equals dishonesty, an air of dishonesty.
Yeah.
Like you're just not getting the true picture, the true image. It's just not as honest as you would like for it to be.
And just, I'm not trying to say that we're the gold standard or anything, but I feel like our clients are overall pretty happy with our process. And so just so you guys know, like the way that we do things so that you can evaluate that and compare that to another agent if you end up working with them and if that's maybe a good fit for you or not, or if you need to terminate that contract. Like when Jay and I go out to a house, first it starts from the moment you send us those houses. We pull it up online, look at the agent remarks, check the map, all that stuff, trying to filter them out before we even go out to them. Again, it makes your day easier, makes our day easier if we can just say, yeah, this is not a good house right off the bat.
Absolutely.
But when Jay and I pull up to a house, we kind of start in the neighborhood or right out in front of the house. Like, what do the other houses look like? What's the neighborhood look like? Walk around the exterior of the home. What's the roof look like? What do the gutters look like? Do we see any major settling issues? Is the grading going away from the house or is it going towards the house? That clues us in to look for moisture problems inside the home.
Absolutely.
Or if it's just like too much there, that's going to be a problem. Those dogs. You have 4 dogs next door. Every time you go outside, they're just yapping at you, blowing you up.
Yeah, or their settlement cracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if that checks out on the outside, we go in the house, first floor, give you a quick. We try to keep all of our videos like little 1-minute clips. So do a quick tour of the first floor layout, and then we come back at the main entrance and we do each room by room, multiple angles, what we see, what we smell, what we hear, what we feel. That's happened to me before. I think you've heard me talk about that. Yeah. I was actually at a house in Beaver Creek one time, and it was like, great location, great price. Can't find anything wrong with the house, but there's some bad juju in this place, man. And I don't know what it is. You just get that feeling. And I'm like, you do what you want. I'm happy to write you an offer for it if you don't mind, but I would not write an offer on this house because there's something bad in this place. So,
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, so we kind of really tear apart. Does it smell like cat pee down to the subfloor? You're not getting that out. It's not going to happen. If I walk down in the basement, I instantly smell the musty. Again, well, if there's a dehumidifier running and it still smells musty, might be a problem. If it's just been a basement that's been closed up, but you don't see any obvious signs of moisture, maybe not. But we factor all that stuff in, like Jay was saying, the noise. If there is noise, or you're hearing it in certain places in the house that are important to you. So if you're not getting that level of detail, like if I see an issue, I'm zooming in on it, making sure I point out. Worst thing for me is if you show up and you just, nobody caught it, nobody saw it, So try to point into every single flaw I can see. I mean, we try to just tear a house apart. It's more important for us for you to be happy than for us to collect a paycheck. So, and if you don't feel like you're getting that same kind of mentality from your agent, walk away.
No, absolutely. And I think to that point, we kind of sped past it a little bit, kind of assuming folks understand, but you're referencing for folks who are buying out of state or out of town.
That's true, yeah.
Which is, to me, another distinguishing factor when you're looking at an agent. Will you provide me that video tour? Can I purchase when I'm out of state? Which is a big trust kind of exchange that's happening there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's true too. Like I don't, we rarely do like FaceTime. Like a lot of agents like to do FaceTime when they're walking through a house, so you can go, you can see it while they're walking through it. But there's so many things you're not going to get as good a quality on the video. There's areas you get in around here where you don't have as good a signal. You might drop a call, and then once you're out of that house, you can't go back and reference that again. So we like to do it in like little 1-minute clips, so you can go back. Like I put on like when I start sending you those videos, I put 123 Main Street, and then boom, here's the videos. So now I want to go back and look at that house. You can just search Main Street, you go back to those videos, and then you can go through each one of those little clips one by one.
Absolutely. You
don't have to do like a 20-minute video and go back and try to find out exactly where it's at. And that doesn't mean that their way they do it is wrong. To me, it has flaws, and I just little things for you guys to keep in the back of your mind when you're selecting an agent.
Okay. I don't really like when I was vetting or you know, interviewing different agents, how much time that person had been in the business versus how many homes they sold. Like a lot of those numbers didn't jump out to me a lot as in my decision making process, only because I've seen how those numbers don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
might have had a whole bunch of sales. I don't know what kind of an agent you are. That doesn't tell me
Right.
what kind of an agent you are.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah.
So like when I'm looking at those type of things, I probably wouldn't lean into those factors a whole lot. It could give you some of the initial trust, especially online when you're searching. Like if there's somebody who doesn't have any sales,
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit of a red flag. Like, what's wrong with you, my guy?
Well, I think there's like you said, it's not necessarily about the how many they've bought or sold, but it's more about how willing are they to get you an answer. You know, I'm okay with an I don't know. It doesn't matter if it's in real estate or any kind of industry. I'm okay if I ask you a question and you don't know, but you're like, I'll get you the answer to that, and you get me that answer within 24 hours. That's
Nice.
more important. It's like someone who's willing to be honest with you, and maybe even learn that process with you along the way. That's more valuable to me than someone who's just, you know, sells 15 million in real estate every year, but they're just trying to sell you a house, you know?
I agree. I'm not 100 different people. I'm me. I'm the one client that you have, and I know you may have a whole bunch of different clients, right? But this is my life. This is my decision making that I'm making on behalf of my family. So this is important for me in my process. So if you've got a great track record, okay, that's good for whoever else you did business with.
Yeah.
When I'm kind of interviewing, I want to see how do we solve problems together. Right? How am I able to go through this process with confidence, right? Like your numbers will make me feel confident. You kind of know what you're doing, but it is the way that we kind of work through these problems. Because if real estate isn't anything, it is a problem solving business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? on a minute to minute basis. So I think that's a good thing to kind of look at your real estate agent to say, you know, how do you solve problems? How do you deal with changes? And that honesty to say, I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what that means, but I will absolutely find out. And having that follow up, I think, says a whole lot as far as trust goes with the client. Hey guys, thank you for joining us today. Again, I'm Jay Sampson with Glass House and the Endres Group. This is
Chris.
Yes, man, team leader of the Endres Group. We appreciate you guys taking some time today. Hope you guys learned something. Check us out soon. Get in touch with us. And let's get you home.
Yeah, we're also just real quick. We're happy to answer any questions, man. Like even if Jay and I really genuinely want what's best for everybody out there, not just our military people, civilians, military folks alike. And whether you're working with another agent or you're working with another lender, if you've got questions, you want to bounce something else off of somebody, we're happy to answer, man. We just want you guys to be smart and make good decisions. So love you guys. Be good.
Peace.